In this episode, we're going to talk about one way you can simplify complex tasks so that you can save a ton of time, get to a deeper understanding of the problem, and also take perhaps a different course of action. Welcome to the Bite Size Sales Podcast, where we believe that you don't need to take time out of the field or off the phones, stuck in a classroom, in order to get great sales and sales leadership training, and that taking bite-sized steps each day to get better at your craft is the best way to improve your results. I am your host, Andrew Monahan, and I'm using my 20 plus years in B2B sales to bring you simple, actionable ideas that you can use every day to help you get better. Before we get to the tip for today, this episode is sponsored by Sales Bluebird. Most of us don't have time to keep up with the latest sales ideas and all the blogs, podcasts, and news articles every week. Sales Bluebird curates content from all these sources and gives you one thought from me, 2 quotes from others, and 3 sales leadership ideas once a week in your email inbox for free. Sign up right now at salesbluebird.com. Welcome to episode 66 of the podcast. And today we're talking about a way to try and simplify your life, simplify tasks. Now, the temptation is always to do what we've always done or what we see others doing as the preferred way of getting things done. But sometimes it's not the way to get things done, as we know, right? The worst thing is to hear the phrase, we've always done it that way. But also, human nature is a certain comfort from doing things the way we've always done things, right? The idea of change is not something that many of us embrace with everything that we ever do. And sometimes just getting in the pattern and say, well, I've always done this way. Let's just get it done and keep moving forward. Someone that I turn to personally when thinking about how to get things done, when thinking about how to live more effectively is Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss, if for those that don't know, he really broke through probably 10, 15 years ago with a book that he called The 4-Hour Work Week. Now, as you can imagine, with a book that was titled like that, it got a lot of attention. But what he was doing actually in the book was talking about how he built an online business, and he had virtual admins and other people like that doing most of the work for him so that only 4 hours per week, he could actually do what he needed to do to help the business keep going and moving forward. He wasn't trying to build a multi-billion-dollar business. What he had was a cash flow business that allowed him to go and do things around the world, and he had people running it for him. And through that process, he just figured out, how can I outsource things? How can I get other people to do? How can I enable them to make these types of decisions for me so that the business can operate without me? Right. And he tested it and he validated it and he kind of built up this model, which eventually was the source of the book. And then he followed up afterwards with a book called The 4-Hour Body. And that, was all about hacks for your body, diet, health, things like that. So same mindset, right? How do I figure things out differently? How do I hack these tasks so that it's most effective for me or least amount of work for me? So he's become known as a bit of a biohacker, a bit of an experimenter. He says quite openly, in the book, he tries out things just to see if they work or don't work. And that's what, forms a lot of the blog posts and podcasts and books that he writes. And what he did a few years back in a period of reflection was think about what he's doing. I think he had a lot of success, and then he's reflecting on, well, what's next, right? Do I keep doing the same thing? Is it different in my future? What do I get most value from, most success from, most energy from? And he was going through that self-reflection. And one of the questions that he kind of came to realize helped his thinking was the very simple question of, what would this look like if it were easy? What would this look like if it were easy? And it's such a simple question, but if you really embrace it and you really think deeply about what you're doing and how you're doing it, you might find that you're actually come to different realization about how you should be doing things. I think it forces you, if you really take it seriously to go deeper on reflection about, well, what is this task really doing? I need to get to this result. If I wanted to get there, normally I might do A, B, C, D, but let's kind of strip that away and say, is there a completely different way to get to the result? Does it have to be me? Does it have to maybe someone else? Things like that, right? So I think it's a simple question, but if you take it seriously, there's some really good outcomes to come from it. And I was thinking, two examples, one on an admin basis and one in a operating the business basis. So, admin basis, there are people out there now that can take care of admin tasks for you. If you're doing a whole bunch of admin tasks and it's eating into your day, then I highly encourage you to find someone else to do this. Back in the day, a few years back, I actually befriended the president of the executive admin of the president of the company. And I used to pay her just a little bit to do my expenses for me. Super simple example, but I had this mind block, right? And the expenses would just build up and build up, and it used to eat away at me. And actually, I spent more time thinking about doing expenses than actually doing them. And so for me, it was more a case of, let's just take this off my plate. I couldn't get an admin of my own. Let's just find someone else who could do that for me. And she was glad to help for most of the time, as long as she wasn't too busy. But then I was thinking deeper about operating the business as a first line manager. You take some of the things that we do, take like a one-on-one, right? And I bet you if you've been running a team for a while, your one-on-one is pretty much the same this year as it was last year and the year before that. So maybe, just thinking about it a little bit differently and saying, the one-on-ones, they take 45 minutes per rep every week, and we cover all these things. Let's kind of strip back my preferred way of doing it and say, what would this look like if it were easy or easier, right? Can I get this same information a slightly different way and then concentrate the one-on-one time on more impactful things? I think that simple question or reflection might actually bring you to a different way to operate some of the core tasks and the repeating business cadence things that you do with your team. So the challenge, I guess, from this for you would be, what are you doing that seems hard or takes a lot of your time, and you're not that comfortable with it, or you think you've got a gnawing idea that might be a different way to do this, or you want to change it up even, or you just want to try something different? Simply take those things that stand out for you and ask yourself, what would this look like if it were easy? If you like this podcast, the most useful thing you could do to support it is share it with just one person. It will mean the world to me, but more importantly, for that one person, it may well transform how they lead and also their results in the coming quarters and years. It will take you just 20 seconds. All you have to do is click the share icon in your podcast app and follow the prompts. Also, I need your suggestions, please. If you have a topic you want me to cover or just want to get in touch, simply email me at upside@unstoppable.do. That's upside@unstoppable.do. And now to wrap up this episode. Training without implementation is just entertainment. So if you heard something today that you want to use, take action right now and keep getting better every single day. And finally, I'm signing off as the great Joe Sexton would by saying, gone to sell.